What if I told you that the most unforgettable flavor you've ever tasted lives not on a grocery shelf, but hidden beneath the canopy of an ancient forest, waiting for a daring soul to discover it? Imagine stepping back 10,000 years, feeling the raw earth beneath your feet, the crisp air filling your lungs, and the primal thrill of lighting a fire with nothing but your own hands. That spark, that crackle, is the heartbeat of our ancestors. And today we're going to follow it all the way from the forest floor to a feast that honors the land itself. If this idea ignites a spark inside you, go ahead and smash that like button, because together we're about to rewrite what it means to eat. I still remember the first time I tried to cook without a modern kitchen. The night was cool, the sky a tapestry of stars, when the only light came from a small ember I had coaxed from a fire drill. My hands were trembling, my breath visible, and when the flame finally caught the dry tinder I had gathered, a rush of triumph surged through me that I still feel whenever I hear the soft pop of a fire starter. That moment taught me that cooking is more than just heat. It's a dialogue with nature, a story told in smoke and flavor. In our modern world, we've become strangers to the sources of our food, reaching for processed packets while the wild bounty around us goes unnoticed. Yet there's a growing movement of people who crave the health benefits of wild edibles, the depth of flavor that only nature can provide, and the cultural connection to the ways our forebears survived and thrived. In the next few minutes, we'll walk you through the essential steps, learning how to identify safe wild foods, crafting simple stone and bark tools, mastering the ancient art of friction fire, and finally preparing a three-course meal that would make any hunter-gatherer proud. By the end of this journey, you'll have the confidence to step into the woods, gather your own dinner, and feel that same primal connection our ancestors felt every time they sat around a fire. Let's begin with the forest pantry. The forest is a living supermarket, and like any good market, it has its seasons, its specialties, and its hidden dangers. As we walk along the crystal clear creek, notice how the sunlight filters through the leaves, creating a dappled pattern on the mossy bank. This is where the first clues to edible bounty lie. Local knowledge, knowing which plants thrive in which microhabitats, understanding the timing of their growth, and recognizing the signs of health in a plant, has been passed down through generations, often through stories whispered around firelight. Today we'll rely on that same intuition, guided by careful observation. Our first discovery is the humble wild nettle. Its leaves are covered in tiny stinging hairs that can cause a painful rash. But once those hairs are neutralized by heat, the plant reveals a taste that's surprisingly reminiscent of spinach, with a hint of earthiness that only the forest can provide. Look for a plant with serrated, heart-shaped leaves and a faint peppery aroma. The stems will be soft and the plant will often grow in patches near damp soil. Remember, nettles are best harvested before they flower, even when the leaves are most tender. Next, we turn to chickweed, a low-lying plant that forms a soft, green carpet across the forest floor. Its tiny, rounded leaves and delicate white flowers are easy to spot if you're paying attention. Chickweed is a nutritional powerhouse, rich in vitamins A and C, and it adds a gentle, slightly sweet flavor to any dish. It thrives in shaded areas, especially where the canopy is thin enough for dappled light to reach the ground. When you spot it, gently pinch the stems near the base. The plant will release a faint, fresh scent that signals its readiness for harvest. Our third treasure is the pine nut, concealed within the woody cones of mature pine trees. These nuts are a high-energy food, packed with healthy fats and a buttery flavor that has sustained mountain peoples for centuries. Look for cones that have begun to open naturally, revealing the golden kernels inside. Gently tap the cones against a hard surface to loosen the nuts, then collect them in a woven bark basket. Be mindful of the surrounding environment. Only take a few cones from each tree to ensure the forest can continue to produce for future generations. Now that we have identified our three key ingredients, let's talk about how to harvest them responsibly. The first rule of foraging is to take only what you need, leaving enough for the plant to regenerate and for wildlife that depends on it. When picking nettles, use a pair of sturdy gloves to protect your hands and a small stone tool that works like a tweezer to gently pull the leaves from the stem without tearing the root. For chickweed, a light sweeping motion with your fingers is sufficient. The plant will regrow quickly if you leave the central stem intact. When collecting pine nuts, choose cones that are already open or near opening. Forcing a closed cone can damage the tree and reduce future yields. Safety is paramount. Always cross-reference each plant with a reliable field guide, and if you're ever in doubt, err on the side of caution and leave the plant untouched. Conduct a simple allergy test by rubbing a small piece of the plant on the inside of your wrist. Wait a few minutes to see if any irritation occurs. Once you've confirmed safety, give each ingredient a thorough rinse in the creek, allowing the cold water to cleanse away any debris or insects. The sound of flowing water is not only soothing, but also helps to remove any lingering bitterness from the nettles. With our clean, fresh ingredients in hand, we'll make a quick, wild snack to celebrate our first success. Bring the nettle leaves to a shallow pool of hot spring water, just hot enough to blanch without cooking fully. As the leaves turn a vibrant green, the stinging hairs dissolve, leaving a tender, flavorful leaf behind. Add a handful of chickweed to the same pot for a burst of freshness, and sprinkle a few pine nuts on top for crunch. Taste it, and you'll feel a connection to the forest that no processed snack can replicate. This simple dish reminds us that the forest provides everything we need, if we only learn to listen. Now that we've filled our bark-woven baskets, let's shift our focus to the tools that will enable us to transform these raw gifts into a nourishing meal. The ancients didn't have metal, but they possessed an incredible ingenuity that turned stone, wood, air, and bone into effective cooking implements. Our first task is to create a sharp edge for cutting and scraping. Look for a piece of flint or chert, a hard, glassy stone that fractures with a conchoidal pattern. When you strike it against a harder rock using a controlled glancing blow, you'll produce a sharp flake that can be used like a knife. Wear protective gloves and goggles, as the shards can be sharp enough to cut skin. The process, known as knapping, can be slow at first, but each successful chip brings you closer to a functional tool. Once we have a sharp stone edge, we'll fashion a simple bowl from the bark of a mature tree. Choose a tree with a thick, pliable outer layer, such as a birch or a maple. Carefully peel a section of bark, keeping it as intact as possible to maintain its natural curvature. Yes, soak the bark in warm water for a few minutes to make it more flexible, then shape it over a small hollowed-out stone to create a shallow dish. Allow the bark to dry, and it will retain its shape, providing a lightweight container for cooking. Our next invention is a wooden spoon, crafted from a sturdy branch. Select a branch that is straight and free of knots, about the thickness of a pencil. Use the sharp flake we created earlier to carve a shallow groove along one side, forming the spoon's bowl. Scrape away excess wood with the stone edge, and smooth the handle with a piece of sanded bark. This simple spoon will be perfect for stirring soups or scooping roasted roots. Now comes the centerpiece of our primitive kitchen, the fire drill. The fire drill is a tool that turns friction into heat, creating an ember without any modern matches or lighters. To assemble it, we need a dry hardwood spindle, a softer fireboard, and a bow made from a flexible sapling strung with a strong cord, perhaps a strip of inner bark twisted into rope. Carve a small, round depression near the edge of the fireboard and a corresponding notch to hold the spindle in place. Place the spindle in the depression, apply steady downward pressure, and pull the bow back and forth, spinning the spindle rapidly. The friction generates heat, and after a few minutes, a small, glowing ember will appear in the fireboard's notch. The moment the ember catches, it feels like a miracle. Carefully transfer the ember to a nest of dry tinder, fine grasses, shredded bark, and dry leaves by gently blowing on it. As the tinder ignites, you'll hear a soft hiss. Ammo and the flame will grow, feeding on the surrounding material. This fire, born from sheer human effort, is the soul of our cooking adventure. It reminds us that fire is not a given, but a skill, a gift that our ancestors mastered through observation and perseverance. Now that we have a steady flame, we can move on to cooking our wild feast. The fire drill's ember has grown into a modest but reliable campfire, its orange tongues licking the night air. We'll place our bark bowl over a low branch, creating a makeshift tripod, and fill it with a broth made from the creek water, a pinch of salt from natural mineral deposits, and the blanched nettle leaves. As the broth simmers, the pine nuts will be toasted over the open flame, releasing their buttery aroma. Finally, we'll add a handful of fresh chickweed just before serving, preserving its delicate flavor and bright green color. The scent of the simmering broth, the crackle of the fire, and the taste of freshly foraged ingredients combine to create a meal that is both nourishing and deeply connected to the land. As we sit back and savor each bite, we can feel the echo of countless generations who gathered, cooked, and shared stories around similar fires. What do you think about this way of eating? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you'd adapt this experience to your own surroundings. We've come a long way from the moment we set foot in the forest, identifying edible plants, crafting tools from stone and bark, and coaxing fire from friction. This journey has shown us that the skills of our ancestors are not lost, but waiting to be rediscovered, one step at a time. Or if this glimpse into primal cooking has opened your eyes to the possibilities that lie beyond the supermarket, consider subscribing so we can continue exploring the wild together. The forest still holds many secrets, and our adventure is only just beginning. The ember settles into a steady glow, the kind of glow that has guided countless hands through the night for millennia. And as the fire breathes life into our simple bark bowl, the forest seems to lean in, listening to the crackle of the flames and the soft murmur of the creek nearby. The broth, once a clear, cold stream, now carries the green whisper of the nettles, the faint mineral kiss of the natural salts we gathered from the rocky outcrops, and the earthy undertone of the pine needles that have been carefully brushed aside to avoid bitterness. As the liquid bubbles gently, a faint steam rises, curling upward like the ancient smoke signals once used to communicate across the canopy, reminding us that even the simplest act of cooking is a dialogue between humanity and the wild. While the broth simmers, we turn our attention to the pine nuts that have been roasting over the open flame. The scent that emerges is rich and buttery, a perfume that could coax even the most discerning palate into a state of reverent anticipation. The nuts crack open with a soft pop, releasing oils that mingle with the surrounding air, and we pause for a moment, inhaling deeply, feeling a connection to the ancient gatherers who would have marked the turning of seasons by the availability of these precious seeds. This is a reminder that every ingredient we touch carries a story, a lineage that stretches back through the ages, and that by honoring these stories, we become part of a larger tapestry of survival and celebration. Now, as the broth reaches a gentle rolling boil, we introduce the chickweed, its tiny leaves bright green and delicate, adding a fresh burst of flavor that will brighten the whole dish. The chickweed wilts just enough to release its subtle sweetness, yet retains enough texture to give each spoonful a lively contrast to the soft nettle base. With the final addition complete, we lower the bark bowl onto a makeshift tripod fashioned from a sturdy branch and a split log, allowing the heat to rise evenly and the flavors to meld in harmonious balance. The scene is simple yet profound, a bowl of wild nourishment perched above a fire that was coaxed from raw wood by the very hands that now tend to it. An embodiment of the ancient partnership between human ingenuity and the gifts of the earth. As we sit back on a smooth stone, the firelight dancing across our faces, we take our first spoonful. The broth is warm and comforting, the nettles offering a gentle bitterness that is softened by the pine nut's richness and the chickweed's bright lift. Each taste feels like a conversation with the forest, a reminder that the land provides not only sustenance, but also stories, lessons, and a sense of belonging that modern life often obscures. In this moment, we are not merely eating, we are participating in a ritual that has sustained peoples for countless generations, a ritual that honors the cycles of growth, harvest, and renewal. But the adventure does not end with a single bowl of soup. The forest, with its abundant bounty, it offers many more avenues for exploring primal cooking. One such avenue is the art of stone grilling, a technique that dates back to the earliest hearths. By locating a flat, smooth river stone that has been naturally heated by the sun's relentless rays, we can create a primitive griddle. The stone, once heated near the fire, becomes a sturdy platform upon which we can sear slices of wild mushrooms, tender shoots of fiddlehead ferns, or thin cuts of freshly caught fish, if the luck of the day grants us such a prize. The direct contact with the hot stone imparts a smoky, charred flavor that is both rustic and deeply satisfying, a flavor that modern grills can only mimic but never truly replicate. To demonstrate this, we gather a handful of fresh mushrooms, their caps a deep brown speckled with white spores, and gently clean them with a damp leaf, taking care not to damage their delicate structures. We then place them onto the heated stone, listening to the soft sizzle that signals the beginning of transformation. As the mushrooms release their juices, a fragrant aroma fills the air, mingling with the lingering scent of pine and the faint sweetness of the surrounding moss. After a brief moment, we turn them over with a simple wooden spatula we have whittled from a flexible branch, ensuring an even sear on both sides. The result is a mushroom that is tender on the inside, with a lightly crisped exterior, a perfect complement to the broth we have already enjoyed. Beyond mushrooms, the forest also gifts us with roots and tubers that, when properly prepared, become hearty staples. One such root is the wild carrot, known to the ancient foragers for its subtle sweetness and crisp texture. By digging carefully with a sharpened stone blade, we can extract these carrots without damaging the surrounding soil, preserving the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Once harvested, the carrots are scrubbed clean, sliced thinly, and placed directly onto the hot stone, where they quickly soften and caramelize, their natural sugars intensifying as they meet the heat. The combination of the caramelized carrot pieces with the mushroom's earthiness creates a layered flavor profile that speaks of the forest's complexity. If the terrain permits, another fascinating technique is the creation of an earth oven, a cooking method that harnesses the insulating properties of the soil itself. By digging a shallow pit, lining it with stones, and building a fire within, we can heat the stones to a glowing temperature before covering the pit with a layer of wet leaves and earth. This creates a sealed chamber where food can be slow cooked, allowing flavors to meld and develop over time. For our purposes, we might choose to wrap a bundle of wild greens, perhaps a mix of sorrel, dandelion leaves, and young kale, in a large leaf from a sturdy tree, securing it with strips of bark. Placing this bundle atop the heated stones and sealing the pit, we let the natural steam and heat work their magic, resulting in a tender, aromatic medley that retains the bright, nutritious qualities of each leaf. As we wait for the earth oven to finish its work, the fire continues to crackle, sending occasional sparks upward, each one a reminder of the energy that flows through this entire process. The patience required for the earth oven mirrors the patience our ancestors cultivated, understanding that great meals often come to those who respect the rhythm of nature and allow time to do its work. When we finally uncover the sealed pit, the fragrant steam rushes out, and we are greeted with a vibrant, verdant bundle that glistens with natural juices, a testament to the harmony between fire, earth, and plant. While the practical aspects of cooking are compelling, the spiritual dimension of this experience is perhaps even more profound. In the days of our forebears, meals were not merely sustenance. They were communal events, opportunities to share stories, teach younger members, and reinforce the bonds that held the group together. Sitting around the fire, the crackle becomes a metronome for conversation, or the glow a soft spotlight for the exchange of myths, legends, and lessons learned from the land. Today, as we sit alone or with a small group, we can honor that tradition by speaking aloud, perhaps reciting an old tale of a hunter who learned the secret of the fire drill from a wise elder, or sharing a personal memory of a time when the forest offered comfort during a difficult moment. In this spirit, I invite you, dear viewer, to take a moment and reflect on a memory you have of nature providing for you, whether it was a picnic by a river, a walk that revealed a hidden berry bush, or simply the feeling of a warm sun on your skin after a long hike. Share that memory in the comments below. Let us create a tapestry of experiences that spans continents and ages, each thread adding richness to our collective understanding of what it means to live in harmony with the wild. As the night deepens, the fire's light begins to wane, yet its impact remains vivid in our senses. The flavors we have tasted linger on our tongues, the aromas cling to our clothes, and the quiet confidence that comes from having created a meal from scratch settles within us. This confidence is not rooted in the complexity of modern appliances, but in the simplicity of purpose, to take what the land offers, to shape it with careful hands, and to honor the process that brings nourishment. It reminds us that the skills of our ancestors are not relics locked away in museums. They are alive, waiting to be rediscovered each time we step onto a forest floor, each time we listen to the wind rustle through leaves, to each time we feel the heat of a fire we have coaxed from wood. If this journey has sparked curiosity within you, if you feel a pull toward learning more about the ancient ways of cooking, or perhaps a desire to try your own foraging expedition, consider letting that curiosity guide you toward more adventures. The forest holds countless secrets, hidden herbs that bloom only at dusk, edible mushrooms that appear after a rainstorm, and techniques for preserving food using natural fermentation that can sustain a community through lean seasons. Each of these secrets is a lesson waiting to be uncovered, a story waiting to be told, and a flavor waiting to be experienced. Before we part, I want to express my gratitude for joining me on this exploration of primal cooking. The experience we have shared today is a reminder that the world is far richer than the aisles of a grocery store can convey, and that by reconnecting with the land, we can discover flavors, skills, and a sense of purpose that modern life often obscures. If you found value in this adventure, if the crackle of the fire, the scent of toasted pine nuts, or the simple act of stirring a bark bowl resonated with you, please consider sharing this video with others who might also be yearning for a deeper connection to nature. Your support helps keep these stories alive and encourages more people to step outside, to listen, to learn, and to cook with the wisdom of those who walk these woods long before us. And if you feel inspired to continue walking this path with me, a gentle reminder to give this video a like if it sparked a smile, and perhaps subscribe so you won't miss the next expedition into the wild, where we might learn to craft a natural fishing trap, explore the art of making cheese from wild goat milk, or discover the hidden flavors of fermented bark tea. Each new skill is a bridge that brings us closer to the land and to each other, and I would love to have you along for every step of the journey. The night grows quiet, the stars overhead glimmer like distant campfires of ancestors who once gazed upon the same sky, and the forest, ever patient, seems to whisper a final farewell. Yet the story does not end here. It continues in every footstep you take into the woods, in every seed you plant, in every fire you coax from wood. The forest still holds many secrets, and our adventure is only just beginning. As the embers fade into a soft amber glow, I feel the pulse of the forest echoing in my chest, a reminder that the rhythm of life has always been tied to the simple act of turning raw bounty into nourishment. The scent of toasted pine nuts still lingers on the wind, mingling with the faint perfume of damp earth and the distant call of a nightbird. It is in moments like this that the ancient wisdom of our forebears becomes palpable, as if the trees themselves are whispering the secrets of survival into the night air. When I first set foot on this path, I imagined that the challenges of primitive cooking would be merely physical. Learning how to split a stone, how to coax fire from friction, how to identify a safe leaf among the thicket. Yet as each day in the wild has unfolded, I have come to understand that the true test lies deeper, within the mind and the spirit. It is the patience to wait for a spark, the humility to admit when a plan is unfamiliar, and the reverence to honor every creature that shares this land. In the quiet moments beside the fire, when the flames dance like ancient spirits, I feel a profound connection to those who walked these woods long before us, their footsteps now softened by moss, but their knowledge still alive in the rustle of leaves. Our journey today has taken us from the cool, clear water of the creek where we washed our harvest, to the heat of the fire drill that demanded every ounce of focus, to the simple bark bowl that cradled our meal. Each step was a lesson in respect. Respect for the land that provides, respect for the tools that we shape with our own hands, and respect for the fire that both gives us warmth and demands our attention. It is this triad of respect that lies at the heart of primal cooking, and it is a principle that can guide us long after we leave the forest behind. Now that we have tasted the wild, I invite you to reflect on what this experience has awakened within you. Did the crisp bite of pine nuts remind you of a childhood memory? Perhaps a time when you gathered nuts with a grandparent under a canopy of golden leaves? Did the crackle of the fire stir a sense of wonder, A reminder that fire is not merely a tool, but a living element that has shaped human history. I would love to hear your stories, your thoughts, the moments that resonated most deeply with you. Share them in the comments below, and let us create a tapestry of shared experiences that stretches far beyond this single video. If you feel a spark of curiosity about the deeper layers of this ancient art, consider exploring a few simple practices that you can bring into your everyday life. Begin by setting aside a small patch of garden or a balcony planter where you can grow a handful of edible greens, wild lettuce, dandelion leaves, or even a modest sprig of rosemary. Observe how these plants respond to the rhythm of the seasons, how they change color and texture with each sunrise. When you feel ready, experiment with a modest fire pit in a safe, designated area, using a bow drill or a hand-drilled spindle to coax a spark. The act of creating fire without modern conveniences can be a meditation, a way to ground yourself in the present moment while honoring the ingenuity of our ancestors. In the weeks ahead, I plan to venture further into the forest, seeking out hidden streams where wild fish linger, learning how to fashion a simple trap from woven reeds, and discovering the subtle art of fermenting bark sap into a tangy, refreshing beverage. Each new skill will be a chapter in a larger story, a story that we will write together, one step at a time. If the idea of learning how to turn a river's bounty into a nourishing broth excites you, let me know. Your enthusiasm fuels the direction of these explorations, and I am eager to tailor future adventures to the interests that you, my community, express. There is a quiet power in the act of sharing knowledge, especially knowledge that has been passed down through countless generations. When you try a new foraging technique or successfully start a fire with your own hands, you become a living conduit for ancient wisdom, on a bridge between past and present. I encourage you to take what you have learned here and apply it in your own surroundings, whether that means a modest walk in a local park, a weekend camping trip, or simply a mindful moment by a backyard fire pit. Capture those moments, share them with friends, and perhaps even invite a neighbor to join you in a small, sustainable feast. In doing so, you keep the flame of primal cooking alive, not just as a novelty, but as a living tradition. As we sit beneath the canopy of stars, the constellations overhead remind us that the same night, sky has guided travelers for millennia. The same constellations that once helped hunters navigate dense forests now inspire us to explore the culinary unknown. Let the silence of the night be a canvas upon which you paint your own stories of discovery. Whether you choose to experiment with a new wild herb, try your hand at crafting a wooden spoon from a fallen branch, or simply sit in quiet contemplation of the fire's glow, know that each act is a tribute to the resilience and creativity that define humanity. Before we close this chapter, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for allowing me to share this intimate experience with you. The journey from forest floor to table is not just about food, it is about reconnecting with the pulse of the earth, listening to the language of leaves, and honoring the fire that has warmed countless generations. If this adventure has sparked a sense of wonder, if the taste of the wild has lingered on your palate, or if the rhythm of the forest has found a place in your heart, I ask you to spread the word. Invite a friend to watch, or share the video with someone who loves the outdoors, and let the community of modern foragers grow. Each new participant adds a voice to the chorus of those who seek to live more harmoniously with the land. And as always, if you feel moved by what you have seen, a simple gesture of liking the video helps the algorithm understand that this kind of content resonates with you, and it ensures that more people who crave this connection can find the path to it. Subscribing, too, is a quiet promise to stay on this trail together, to explore deeper valleys, to discover hidden streams, and to learn the many ways that nature can nourish body and soul. Your support is not just a metric. It is a lifeline that keeps the stories of ancient kitchens alive in the digital age. The night deepens, and the fire's embers settle into a soft, steady glow. I can hear the distant hoot of an owl, a sentinel of the darkness, reminding us that even in the quiet, the forest is alive with purpose. As I look up, the Milky Way arches across the sky, a luminous river that has guided travelers since the dawn of time. In its light, I see the possibility of countless more meals cooked under the stars, countless more lessons learned from the earth, and countless more moments of quiet reverence shared between us and the world around us. So as you turn off the screen tonight, carry with you the memory of the crackling fire, the taste of pine nuts toasted to perfection, and the gentle rustle of leaves as you gathered your harvest. Let those sensations linger and let them inspire you to step outside, to listen to the wind, to feel the bark beneath your fingertips, and perhaps, why could to strike a spark with nothing but your own hands? The forest awaits, patient and generous, ready to teach those who approach with curiosity and respect. Until our next adventure, may your path be illuminated by starlight, your heart be guided by the rhythm of the forest, and your hands be steady as you coax fire from wood. Keep the flame of curiosity burning bright, and remember that every step you take into the wild is a step toward a deeper, more authentic connection with the world that sustains us all. Thank you for walking this path with me, and I look forward to the next time we gather around the fire, share a story, and taste the pure, unadulterated flavors that only the wilderness can provide. The ember of curiosity still glows within you, and that glow is the invitation to keep exploring. When you imagine the next sunrise spilling gold across a meadow, the dew still clinging to the blades of grass, and the world waiting for you to discover its hidden pantry. When you step outside your door tomorrow, think about the simple act of listening, to the rustle of leaves, to the whisper of wind through branches, to the subtle hum of insects. Those sounds are the first clues that guide you toward nature's kitchen. Take a moment now to close your eyes and picture the texture of bark beneath your fingertips, the warmth of a stone that has been heated by a fire you coaxed from raw wood, the scent of pine needles as they crackle and release their resinous perfume. Feel the satisfaction of turning a raw seed into a toasted morsel, the way the flavors unfold on the palate, bright and earthy, reminding you of the forest's generosity. That memory, vivid and alive, can become a compass that points you back to the wilderness whenever modern life feels too distant from its roots. If you ever find yourself wondering how to begin, start small. A single handful of wild greens gathered from a sunny clearing, a few pine nuts cracked open with a stone, a simple broth simmered over a modest flame. Each step builds confidence and deepens the bond between you and the land. And as you practice, you'll notice how your senses sharpen. The ability to differentiate a fragrant herb from a look-alike, the instinct to find dry tinder even after a rainstorm, the intuition that tells you when a fire is ready to be nurtured rather than smothered. I want to hear about the moments that spark your own adventure. What was the first wild ingredient you ever tasted? Did you feel a rush of excitement when the first spark leapt into flame? Or perhaps a quiet awe as the night sky unfolded above you? Share those stories in the comments below. Reading your experiences fuels the community and reminds us all that we are part of a long line of seekers who have learned to live with the land, not apart from it. Now let's talk about the next chapter of our culinary journey, transforming the simple harvest into a three-course feast that honors the rhythms of the forest. First, we'll start with an appetizer that awakens the palate, a chilled nettle and chickweed salad, lightly dressed with a vinaigrette made from crushed wild berries and a splash of spring water. The nettles, once blanched, lose their sting and reveal a delicate, almost spinach-like flavor, while the chickweed adds a subtle sweetness. When we toss the leaves gently in a shallow bark bowl, drizzle the berry reduction, and let the coolness of the forest floor keep the dish refreshing. For the main course, we move to the heart of the forest bounty, pine nuts toasted over a low ember, paired with a hearty broth infused with wild mushrooms, fern shoots, and a touch of smoked bark. The broth begins with a base of hot water collected from a clear stream, brought to a gentle boil in a stone pot. Add a handful of freshly foraged mushrooms, their caps releasing an earthy aroma as they soften. Next, introduce thin strips of fern shoots, which lend a faintly nutty note, and sprinkle in the toasted pine nuts, their richness deepening the flavor profile. Finally, stir in a pinch of crushed bark, which imparts a smoky undertone reminiscent of ancient hearths. Let the mixture simmer, in allowing the ingredients to meld, while you tend the fire with patient strokes of the bow drill, keeping the flame steady and bright. The dessert is a celebration of the forest's sweetest gifts. Gather a few ripe wild berries, blueberries, blackberries, or any that the season offers, and place them in a woven basket. Over a small fire pit, use a flat stone as a makeshift griddle, heating it until it radiates gentle warmth. Lay the berries on the stone, allowing them to release their juices, then cover them with a leaf of large, sturdy plant, perhaps a magnolia leaf or a broad fern frond, to trap the steam. As the berries soften, their sugars caramelize, creating a luscious sauce that can be spooned over a simple flatbread made from ground acorn flour, pressed into a thin disc and cooked on the same stone. The result is a sweet, smoky treat that echoes the flavors of the wild while honoring the ingenuity of our ancestors. While the food cooks, take a moment to reflect on the rhythm of the process. Notice how each step follows the next, like the cycles of the seasons: gathering, preparing, cooking, and finally sharing. This rhythm is not just practical, it is a meditation, a way to align your inner tempo with the pulse of the earth. When you sit down to eat, do so with gratitude, acknowledging the countless generations of hands that have perfected these techniques, the soil that nurtured the plants, the wind that carried the seeds, and the fire that transformed raw elements into nourishment. If you're feeling inspired by this vision of a wild feast, consider capturing a piece of it in your own life. Perhaps you'll try a single element, maybe toasting a handful of pine nuts over a campfire, or whisking together a quick berry dressing. Even a modest experiment can reignite that primal spark within you, reminding you that the wilderness is not a distant, untouchable realm, but a living classroom that welcomes curiosity and respect. I'd love to know which part of this three-course plan excites you the most. Is it the crisp, bright salad that awakens the senses? The hearty, aromatic broth that warms the soul? Or the sweet, smoky berry dessert that ends the meal on a high note? Drop a comment and let the community know. Your preferences may inspire future episodes where we dive deeper into specific dishes or explore new regions and their unique edible treasures. As the night deepens further, the fire's glow begins to soften, its flames dancing slower, casting gentle shadows that flicker across the surrounding trees. The stars above become brighter, each one a point of light that has guided travelers for countless ages. In this quiet moment, you might feel a profound connection to those who walked these paths long before you. Hunter-gatherers who learned to read the signs of the forest, who crafted tools from stone and wood, who coaxed fire from raw timber with patience and skill. Their legacy lives on in every spark you create, every bite you savor, and every step you take upon the earth. Remember that the knowledge we share here is a living thread, woven from stories, experiences, and the collective curiosity of all who seek to live more harmoniously with nature. By engaging, commenting, and sharing your own discoveries, you become a part of that tapestry, and helping to keep the ancient wisdom alive in the modern world. So if this journey resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. Your gesture tells the algorithm that this kind of content matters, and it also signals to me that you're eager for more adventures. And if you haven't already, consider joining the community by subscribing. Not because it's a checkbox to tick, but because each new subscriber adds a voice to our shared exploration. A reminder that we're not alone in our quest to rediscover the primal art of survival and celebration. Your subscription is a quiet promise to stay on this trail together, to venture into deeper valleys, to uncover hidden streams, and to learn the many ways that nature can nourish both body and spirit. Before we part, take a final breath of the night air, feeling the coolness on your skin, into the faint scent of pine and earth, and the lingering warmth of the fire you nurtured. Let that breath carry with it the intention to carry the lessons of the forest back into your everyday life. Whether that means choosing a wild herb for your next salad, lighting a small fire in a safe, controlled setting, or simply taking a moment each day to listen to the subtle sounds that surround you. May the memory of this evening stay with you like a gentle ember, ready to ignite whenever you feel the pull of the wild. May your hands remain steady, your heart stay open, and your curiosity burn bright, lighting the path toward countless more meals cooked under the stars, countless more stories shared around flickering flames, and countless more moments of quiet reverence with the world that sustains us. Until we meet again beneath the canopy of leaves, keep the fire of curiosity alive, Honor the rhythms of the earth, and remember that every step you take into the wilderness is a step toward a deeper, more authentic connection with the world that cradles us all. Thank you for walking this path with me, and I look forward to the next time we gather around the fire, share a story, and taste the pure, unadulterated flavors that only the wilderness can provide.